how many Qurans are there?
In the house.
How many Qurans are there?
One.
Right. So now, if we have two different readings, we have a contradiction. Go and throw it on the floor and say this isn't a Quran, and see what happens to you.
Of course you can't, because it has the word of God in it.
Exactly. So, but you just said the wash isn't a Quran. When one says the wind is sent as a glad tiding, and the other reading says it is sent to disperse, is that a contradiction? Yes or no?
It's just a dot.
So now you've confirmed there's what you believe to be an error in one of the Qurans.
Or maybe.
Thank you very much. Because you're quite a logical person, and your brain is figuring out.
They can both be and that.
But this is not and that. This is and that or that.
This can be that and that.
And or. And or, as we know, are different. So this is why when you've been told all your life that there's one Quran, that's why you're having trouble understanding this, because that's what you've been told that lie.
Many people have troubles.
Of course, but you've been told a lie.
This Arabic,
Yeah,
we don't go around speaking.
Yeah, but
Arabic.
you've been told a lie.
Such a mission.
Yeah, but you've been told a lie that this has Quran.
You have the King's George.
Yeah, but listen to what I'm saying. You've been told a lie.
You go around speaking like
You've
that?
been told a lie.
James language.
You've been taught a lie
I haven't.
that the Hafs version is the standard version that every Muslim uses.
Yeah, ask any
But
Muslim.
when you go around the world, if I go to Morocco, they're not going to tell me about the Hafs. They're going to tell me about the wash.
Not
And
necessarily.
yes, they will, because that's what's used there.
I don't know what any Moroccan like.
Shall we check on the internet?
Yeah, I grew up in
Okay.
Exeter,
Okay.
and it was like many different ethnic backgrounds going to that mosque.
Okay.
We all had one Quran.
Which Quran?
Which Quran?
Yeah.
You're trying to say there's many Qurans.
Of
now.
course. So
Because of and what end?
would you like to see more examples?
Go on then.
Okay. So we'll go back to the other one which I showed you. Actually, let me show you, because you don't. Let me actually show you how many different Qurans there are first.
Are you talking about verses being taken out of the Bible, like Quran, and verses being put in the Quran?
No,
Are
that's
you
part of an
talking about
issue, but that's not what I'm.
missing verses or
No.
added verses?
No, that's part of the
No,
issue,
you're
but that's
talking
not
about
what
the
I'm.
Bible if you
That's
say
not
that.
what I'm focusing in.
You're talking about the Bible.
Because I
if
can
say
show you
that.
missing verses in the Quran as well,
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
from your own Islamic
There's like
sources.
apparently like 100 million Muslims that have memorized the Quran
Which
by
Quran?
heart.
The wash, the hafs, or the duri?
And you're telling me
The wash
one
or the
guy
hafs or
will
the
have
duri?
verses missing in the memorization of the Quran, and some people will have the added verses in their memorization of the Quran.
You know who Ibn Masud is?
They would be able to
Do
recite
you know who Ibn Masud is?
exactly the same.
You know who Ibn Masud is?
No.
He was one of the companions,
Go on then.
and he had a different Quran to. Let me show you the hadith
Okay.
and show you why he had different version of a Quran. Because you all know that Abu Umar standardized the Quran. So if I bring this up for you.
I just had an interview with China. Job
Okay,
interview
look here.
with China.
So this is
and you're here to
Bukhari.
debate me about Bukhari. Okay.
Right. So it says Al-Qama went to Sham, and when he entered the mosque, see,
He said, "Oh,
if
Allah."
anyone wants to see, thank you.
He can put it up.
Sun's in the way.
He can put it up. He can do.
Alright.
He can edit.
I'll read it anyway.
And he puts it up.
So it says, and when he entered the mosque, he said, "Oh Allah, bless me with a pious companion." So he sat with Abu Darda. Abu Darda asked him, "Where are you from?" Al-Qama replied, "From the people of Kufa." Then he says, "Isn't there amongst you the keeper of the secret which nobody else knows, i.e. Hudayfa?" Al-Qama said, "Yes." Then Abu Darda further said, "Isn't there amongst you the person whom gave Allah refuge from Satan through invocation of his prophet, namely Ammar?" And it says, then Abu Darda asked, "How Abdullah bin Masud used to recite the surah starting with by the night as it envelopes, by the day as it appears in brightness. Al-Akbar said, and by the male and female. Abu Darda said, these people of Sham tried hard to make me accept something other than what I had heard from the Prophet. Now I'll ask you, find me that verse in the Quran. This is Bukhari. Ibn Masud says there was a verse he used to say in his Quran, and remember, who did your Prophet said, learn the Quran of these 4 people. Ibn Kaid, Ibn Masud, and Abu Darda, and I've forgotten the other person's name.
I have no idea about that.
So, this is what you should go in and look into. Have I read the Quran? Yeah, I have.
In English, right?
In English?
Yeah.
Have you read the Quran?
Huh? I'm learning. Let's start from the beginning.
So what's that got to do with anything?
We get to the Quran.
But what's that got
It's in stages.
What's that got to do with anything?
The Quran is actually in Arabic. So for you to understand the difference,
Okay.
if you want to say that there's a difference in the Quran,
Yeah.
there's a chapter missing, you have to put it in that. Right?
He's telling me about the Hafs and
Okay.
the
Do you have 4 different Bibles? I'm only going to...
We're not changing the topic. We're not changing. How many Qurans do you have?
There's 4 Bibles.
Do you have?
different books?
This is. Do you have?
Different books in 4 different Bibles.
Do you have different
One has
Qurans?
66 books. The other one's 74, right? The other one's 84, right? Or
How many chapters were in Ibn Masud's Quran?
So how many?
111
What's going on?
chapters.
What's going on there?
111
English
chapters.
translation. The English
What happened to
translation.
them? You see?
They have in the English
This is what
translation.
this is what they cannot do.
450
When
English translations.
he can't answer questions about Islam, they go to the Bible. The Bible, if the Bible is corrupted, that's not going to help Islam. So let's focus on what is in the Quran. Okay, let me answer my question. 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 Can you answer my question? Answer my question. You see,
you have
because that's what he can do. All he knows to do is to heckle
4 different
and not answer the question. Answer the question.
Where's the book of Enoch?
Answer my question.
Where's the book of Enoch?
Answer my question.
Why isn't the book of
See,
Enoch
you
in your
cannot answer the
Bible?
question.
Why isn't the book of Enoch in your
Answer
Bible?
this question.
Why?
Answer this question.
Why?
Are you afraid? So answer my question. Answer my.
You want to ask me a question about
Answer my
Arabic,
question.
right?
No, I'm going to ask you a simple question. If the Bible is corrupted, does that help Islam?
No, it doesn't help
So
you.
why are we talking about the
Doesn't help
Bible?
you.
Because you see,
It doesn't help you.
let's talk about Islam
Doesn't
and the
help you.
corruption, the holes in the standard narrative. So answer the question.
In P66, Papaya 66, you can see an actual cross. People actually crossed it out to change her name. This is what was
Our
going on.
conversation because he doesn't want to engage with what's being said. So let's look at more of the variants.
He's telling me about
hypocrisy in
the
these
worst
people.
Quran, the
No, but it
Moroccan.
doesn't matter. They don't speak Arabic. They don't know the difference. You go to an Arabic person and they'll tell you there's no difference. This is the difference. This is the difference. Let me tell you.
Alright, so now let me show you.
I was talking.
Let him show you. Let him show you the
He doesn't want to
I'll show you the
engage.
difference.
He doesn't want to
It's
engage.
very
So
simple.
let's
I
look
know.
at-
I was taught like this. Alif, ba,
let-
ta, sa. Right.
You're-
The other way
quite-
is alif, be, te,
You're
se.
quite intelligent.
What's the difference? What's the difference?
Yeah, but he's showing me and
These guys are clowns.
He doesn't speak Arabic, so
These guys
there's
are
no point
clowns.
asking him.
You know-
These guys are
He doesn't
clowns.
ask him if he speaks Arabic.
These guys are clowns.
Let
Ask
him
him,
read
he
that.
doesn't speak Arabic.
You read a little bit, don't you?
No, nothing.
You read a
Exactly.
little. Just-
He's a student.
Just the yellow bit.
Exactly.
Just
Okay.
the yellow bit. Just the yellow
Read
bit.
this. Read the Arabic. Read the Arabic. Read the Arabic. Exactly. So he's useless. He can't read.
One word.
He cannot read. So that's why he's diverting, because he doesn't have an
I'm learning
answer.
from the alphabet.
So why are you going to a baby that's learning the alphabet? You know Arabic. So
You
let's,
don't know Arabic.
so you can confirm.
You don't know
Okay.
Arabic and you're an expert.
All right. So now, confirm to me what the Arabic says. Let's go
So
to.
read the Arabic.
He's going to read the
Read the
Arabic.
Arabic.
Yeah, because he's showing me a Hafs and Wash Quran. The Hafs and Wash, the Moroccan one, which I've never seen before in my life.
So we'll go to the next one. In terms of, this is matters of faith. When you miss fasting,
Da'am al-Miskeen, Da'am al-Masakin.
right? Now one's a singular
Da'am al-Miskeen, Da'am al-Masakin.
and one's a plural. So if I said I went out with a friend yesterday, that's not the same as me saying I went out with friends
Da'am
yesterday.
al-Miskeen and Da'am al-Masakin. Look. You know this.
He doesn't speak Arabic. How many times?
Answer.
How many times? Look, he doesn't.
Miskeen.
All right.
Da'am Misakin. They put the alif there.
No problem. It's the same thing what I was saying earlier. When we're taught, right, even the alphabets, this is how it goes. It goes alif, ba,
We don't.
ta,
We
right?
don't say this one.
And this one it's the
Misakin.
other way. It's saying it is
I
alif.
don't care whether you say it or not.
We don't use this one. No one recites the Quran like
Okay.
that.
Shall I?
No
if I
one
go,
recites
if I
that.
go on the internet now and prove it to you that they do, what will you say?
Yeah, that's it. I know this.
Listen to what I'm saying. If I go
I
on the
know this
internet
one.
right now and prove to you
And I don't
that
know.
it's used,
Memorize the Quran off by heart. I know this one.
because this is
And
what you use. The
This
Hafs
is
one.
what I use.
I know.
Everybody uses this
No.
one, not this one.
If I go to an Islamic website to confirm to you what you're saying is not true, will you accept it?
Miskin is like singular.
Yeah, but you see, you don't want to answer the
Misakin,
question.
Poor people.
Shall we go to an Islamic website to
Poor person,
confirm?
poor people.
Yes.
That's the difference.
If I have a wife versus wives, is that the same?
Well, if you're a Muslim, it will be alright.
If I said I have a wife
Yeah.
versus I have wives, am I saying the same thing?
Or concubines.
Versus a concubine. So you clearly know the singular is not the same as the plural. So now,
But I can still-
if you want me to confirm from an Islamic website
Islamically,
that
you cannot
wash
change.
is a valid
You cannot
Quran.
change one letter. in
So
the-
why are the letters changed?
And also, you can see that the Dhamma and the Fatha and the Kisra and the Shadda,
Do you want to go online?
they're all the same.
Do you want to go online to see if and check the wash from Quran? Let me get it up for you now. And then,
Where can you buy the watch?
no, we'll just get an online version, and you can have
Where
a
can you
look
buy it?
from any Islamic store.
don't
Just
know.
go online and you can buy it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and bring up a what
Ta'am al-Miskin,
So
Ta'am
look.
al-Masakin.
wash
Food for the poor people.
Quran.
Food for the poor person. I don't know.
Because you know perfectly well.
All it is just an alif. That
Yeah,
alif.
which changes the meaning because the diacritical mark changed the meanings of the
You
text.
can read Arabic then.
I know the structure of the text. It's very simple.
So it's very simple.
No, I'm not saying I can read, but I know in terms of the.
What is, okay, what's that one?
I said I can't read the text, but I know in terms of
What's that one?
diacritical marks. I don't know. You tell me.
Okay, what is this one?
Do you want to go? Look,
What is this one?
answer the question.
The one of the line.
You tell me.
You don't know?
No, you
The
tell
one
me.
of the line.
You tell me.
Alif.
Elif.
And because it has the line on the top, it's a sound, it's a fatha. It's a fatha. No, I'm not going on circle. Hell no.
But
All I'm saying is, look,
Yeah.
Ta'am al-Miskin, Ta'am al-Misakin, this alif, this is the only difference.
yes, but it's the meaning
But
the
it shouldn't
same.
be there.
Who told you
Because
that?
nobody recites it like that.
Shall we go?
Nobody recites it like that.
Shall I? Okay.
Nobody recites it like that.
Let me ask you a question.
No,
do
let
you,
me say
do you
to
want
you,
me to go online?
nobody reads it like
do you want me
that.
to go online to prove?
I don't know where
Do
you
you
got
want
this
me
all come
to?
from.
Shall I go online now?
All this translation.
Shall I? Look, you're a very rational person.
Yes, I am.
Shall I go online to prove to you from an Islamic source that this is recited in other Islamic countries and it is valid? Actually, I can even show you.
What Bible do you read?
The Bible's not going to help you.
What Bible do you read?
The Bible's not going to
No,
help
just
you.
tell me what Bible you
The
read.
Bible's not. Let's stick on this
read
verse.
King James, don't you?
Let's stick on this verse.
So you believe
The
that
Bible is not going to help
John
you.
3:16 was sent by
The
God.
Bible's not going to help you.
John 3:16
The Bible
is the word
is
of
not
God
gonna
or
help
isn't
you.
the word of God?
This is what Muslims do.
John
Now you're doing it as
3:16.
well.
Is it
Diversion.
or isn't it?
Because when we get you cornered, you want to change the
He believes
subject.
that John 3:16 is the word of God, therefore the begotten Son should be in the Bible.
So now,
Whereas you're
here,
looking at Ta'am al-Miskin and Ta'am al-Misakin as
look,
a
now look,
total
here we have-
fabrication.
look, Rawi, wash. So it comes from Nafi al-Madina. So now look here, we have Hafs, which comes from Asim ibn Abi al-Najid. This is the chain of transmitted Muslim world, parts of Yemen, parts of West Africa, Kambal, Al-Bazi, Persian, Meccan, Wash, Al-Andalusa, Algeria, Morocco, parts of Tunisia, West
Yeah, that's what I was
Africa,
saying.
and Sudan. So that if I go to those places and read the Hafs, they don't know what I'm talking
You will
about.
find the Hafs.
No. What does it say here? Read it. Read it.
Where did you get this from?
This is on Wiki. Wiki. And we can go and look online on the Islamic website as well.
No, not everything on Wiki is.
So
what's the percentage of people that read this Hafs?
everyone, there's maybe about, I don't know, 5%,
Wash or whatever. 5%.
maybe. They'll still tell you it's a Quran. You go to Morocco and tell them it's not a Quran and you'll see what happens to you. Go and throw it on the floor and say this isn't a Quran and see what happens to you.
Of course you can't, because it has the word of God in it.
Exactly, so, but you just said the wash isn't a Quran.
I didn't say it was a
So what is it then?
I'm saying it's there's some things that are maybe altered in it.
You go into Morocco and tell them that.
Instead of saying
You go
Instead
to
of saying,
Morocco
and
get a wash.
or-
So is it valid, yes or no? Answer.
yeah, because the meaning is
Okay,
still there.
so now we've
meaning's
confirmed
still there.
they're both valid. So now we have
Meaning's still there.
confirmed
If I still feel sorry for the poor people, or I feel sorry for a poor person,
that's not what it says.
same thing, because I'm still feeling sorry
That's
for
not. It doesn't.
poor people.
The text does not say feel sorry for poor
doesn't-
people.
it doesn't-
The text says.
it
Shall I
doesn't-
read the text?
We don't.
Shall I read the text?
We're not changing
Shall
the
I read the
message.
text?
We're not changing.
Shall I read the text? All right. Because it doesn't say feel sorry for a
Well,
poor
let me
person.
see.
Because the text does not say feel sorry for a poor person. So I'm correcting you
Okay then, go
on what
on
it
then.
says. So we'll
Give
go
me the translation
and read
and then tell me if it's a
what it says.
contradiction of each other.
So the text says, the first one, fasting for a limited number of days. So whoever amongst you is ill or on a journey during them, then an equal number of days are to be made up. And upon those who are able to fast but with hardship, a ransom as a substitute of feeding a poor person each day. Does that say feel sorry for a poor person? Was there any word that said feel sorry for a poor person?
No, I'm just saying.
So
for
that's my
example.
point. Why I stopped you is because you were saying something that was not in the text. So
I know
correcting
it's
you.
not in the text.
All
I'm
right.
just saying, for example, I didn't think you were actually going.
Yeah, but let's stick to what the text says. So now the other one says, for a ransom as a substitute of feeding poor people. So if I'm in Morocco, I feed a group of poor people.
We are told
If
to
I'm
teach-
anywhere else,
We are told
here,
to take care of the poor people.
but this is not saying take care of poor people. This is saying as a substitute for not fasting. This is religious matters, what you're supposed to
Yeah,
do.
you give zakah or whatever you give to.
But we're
poor
saying in
people
this text specifically.
as a
But we're saying-
replacement for salah.
But we're saying in this text
If you miss
specifically.
prayer for any of the
That's
reasons,
fine.
you can give zakah
That's
and
fine.
take care of a poor person.
That's fine.
Like for example,
But
in your
I'm not
life,
asking about the
you
other
can't
things.
feed all the poor
I'm
people.
not saying the
you
other
can't feed
things.
all the poor people.
I'm saying
You're looking at this.
is a poor
Too much
person
detail.
is a
You're
poor
forgetting-
person
you're forgetting
is a poor person
what this message is about.
is a poor person
What
the
is this
same
message about?
as poor people.
Do you think this is
Is
a bad
a poor
thing or a good
is
thing?
this a contradiction?
No.
Why?
Because I can't help every poor person.
Does this say help every poor person?
Yes, it does.
Does this say help every poor person?
Every poor
Does this?
person.
So are you lying
Every
on the
poor
Quran
person.
now?
Is that not plural?
Say wallahi, this is saying feed every poor person. You can't say it because you know what it says.
Ta'am al-Masakin.
It says feed. So where did you get feed all the poor people from?
Poor people. Poor person.
Yes, but is that feed all the poor people? So here we have a contradiction in the Quran.
What?
Because if it says feed a poor person and another one says feed poor people, that's not the same
Feeding
saying.
a poor person each day. So if I feed a poor person each day, am I feeding poor people plurally or singularly?
But this is saying
am I
this is
just-
saying each day feed one person.
So
This
that-
is saying each day feed poor people. So difference between you giving a sandwich to one person or you giving a sandwich to three people.
to different people each day, at least.
No, this one says one person
One
every
person
day.
every day. So I'm giving a sandwich to a different person each day.
Yes.
So that's plural.
No. If you're taking it all together, yes. But this is saying feed.
Yes.
listen
He
to
admits yes.
But hold on, the text says each day feed a poor person, not the totality of the week. Feed people. The other one is
This
saying
one, I know.
every day
Every
feed
day,
people.
several people.
Exactly. So now is it
But
a
in
person?
in essence, I am still feeding several poor people.
But that's not what we're talking about.
Yes, we
We're
are.
talking about the text. It's saying each day,
Yeah,
how
I
many
know.
people do we feed?
Is it
This,
now?
does this say a week? No. It says every day,
Do you
how
like
many
this-
poor people do we
you
feed?
like this message in the Quran?
Forget about the message. We're saying
Forget about the message.
The Quran says
Forget
if this
about the
was
poor
other
people.
from no other than Allah,
Forget
in it
about
we
the poor
will
people.
find contradictions. So I'm bringing you a contradiction. That one verse says feed a poor person.
Where are you from?
Another verse.
Morocco.
Wait. What version of the Quran?
No, don't get the
That's
camera.
fine. That's fine. Yeah, don't push. It's fine. Don't worry. Okay. Wait.
Alright, don't go.
Alright, look, yeah, but don't touch his property. Just say he knows.
Ben,
Look,
Ben, you won't film.
look,
Ben, you
listen,
won't film.
wait.
You won't film.
Wait, alright, it's done. Listen, my friend. You see, he's from Morocco and he knows the wash version is
He
what they use.
doesn't know.
Okay, go and ask
He
him.
just got angry because you put the
Alright,
camera.
shall we go and ask him? Go and ask him and come back.
I was going to.
Okay, ask him and
was
come back.
going to if he was
Ask
the one.
him and come
Is
back.
anyone from Morocco?
He's from Morocco. Ask him and come back. Because you don't want to ask him because he's going to confirm what I'm
No,
saying.
what do you mean I don't want to ask him?
Okay, shall we go and confirm from him what version they use in Morocco?
I don't want to ask him now because he's pissed off. It wasn't me that pissed him off.
You see? So if he says to you, and I've shown you as well the information that says the wash is used in Morocco, what will you say? What will you tell him? His Quran's fake. So what would you say?
Well, in some part, just for these certain
In
things.
some part. How do you know this one is the true one?
There's a white lie, isn't there?
So Allah's telling white lies?
No, not Allah.
To who?
Whoever wrote the wash.
But doesn't the Quran say Allah will protect the Quran?
I am yeah, he's protected the house
How do you know?
because it still exists to this day.
So does the wash?
Yeah, but when was that made?
When was it made? The recitation, as I showed you,
Yeah, when? You showed
wash
me who.
lived in the...
You showed me who.
Yeah.
You didn't show me when.
But the Quran is through recitation, so if we know that person lived in the 11th century, the recitation, the chain has come from the 11th century. The only reason why you use the Hash Quran is because in 1924 it was standardized for Egypt, and then in 1934 by the King of Saudi Arabia they standardized it for the majority of the Muslim community.
There we go. So we didn't have a Quran until 1937.
You didn't have a standard one.
We didn't have a Quran.
No, you had a Quran, you didn't have a standard one.
So let's be careful with the words there.
But I said you didn't have a standard
Because you would say, what you're trying to say is that no one was able to recite a Quran
No, because you had printed
until 19...
No, you had printed copies, but you had different printed copies. In 1924, it was standardized in Egypt. And they threw all the Qurans in the Nile. Because what happened is, at the Islamic universities, when they asked students questions, people would answer the questions differently based on the problems in the different...
Yeah, but you got to admit that your church
Text.
fathers threw
That's
verses
got
out of the
nothing
Bible
to do...
and put
How
verses
does,
in the Bible.
how does that help Islam?
How does that help you? as
How does
salvation?
that help
How does
Islam?
that help you
Answer the
and your
question.
salvation?
Why are you diverting?
not
Let's
diverting.
finish on the Quran.
Do you believe Jesus is the begotten Son?
Let's finish on the Quran. How does that help Islam?
begotten?
How does that help Islam?
Do you think Jesus is
How does that
begotten?
help the variance? It doesn't.
You think-
So let's stop diverting. We know what you're doing. Let's stick to, if you cannot answer, because you know it's a contradiction. Would you like to see some more? Okay.
Food, poor person or poor people. I mean, if you're talking about differences, yeah, exactly. If you're talking about the Bible, you're talking about contradictions.
The Bible's
and
not, okay, now here's another one.
verses put in,
Here's
verses
another
put
one.
out.
Here's
Yeah,
another
but
one.
nobody uses this
Here's
one.
another
I
one.
don't know where they got this from. Quite very.
So can you confirm what the words are? So I'll read it. And it is he who sends the winds as good tidings before his mercy until when they have carried heavy rain clouds. The other one says, and it is he who sends the winds to disperse before his mercy until they have carried heavy rain clouds.
No,
So
there's a misplaced dot.
in which one?
This one.
So the words are different. So now, does Allah send the winds to disperse people, or does he send the winds as a good tidings? That is a contradiction.
No, it's a wrong. It's just a dot.
So now you've confirmed there's what you believe to be an error in one of the Qurans.
Or
Thank
maybe.
you very much. So now you've proved to us, because to the audience who know and accept the Wash Quran, you have confirmed
It's a
that
misspelling.
it's not a misspelling. This is in every single Wash Quran. So now you've confirmed a contradiction because you understand the words are so polar.
Unless.
It must be a spelling
Now
mistake.
look, let me show you. Let me break that word down.
Just get it up again.
Alright, there's a difference in the dot. There's one with the dot on the top which makes it a noon end sound.
Yes.
This one.
This is why we are bringing you.
This has got the end sound.
Look,
and
let
this
me
one's
just show
got
you
the B
something.
sound. So it's just the dot. Unless Moroccans use the end like that, they put the dot on the top. No, put the dot on the bottom instead of the top.
Indeed, it is we who sent the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian.
Oh, here we
So
go.
why are there, even if it was a spelling mistake, Allah has confirmed he's the guardian.
Yeah.
So we see apparently miracles when people forget verses, Allah's wonderful miracle
Yeah, but nobody recites
abrogation.
it like that
But
one.
when it comes to writing the Quran, Allah does not help people to make sure they write
nobody,
the
I'm
correct
telling
thing.
you, nobody reads the Hafs Quran. I don't know what.
I don't know. Everyone reads the Hafs, and as
Nobody
I've
reads
shown
the Hafs.
you,
I've never seen the Hafs in my life.
the Hafs is
Last
what you're
week
talking
until
about.
you showed me.
You mean the Wash Quran?
The wash. Sorry.
So now we're seeing
Sorry, yeah.
a Muslim is struggling to deal with the differences in the
I found
text.
it. I
Your
saw
only
it
answer
straight
is
away.
to reject the Wash Quran, which your Islamic Ummah has
If
accepted.
it contradicts
Okay.
the true meaning of the message in the Quran, then I
So you
reject
agree
it.
it contradicts the meaning
But if
in
there's
the two
misspelling,
verses?
then I don't.
So do you agree that those verses contradict each other?
You know, like when you sometimes put an
Answer the
I,
question.
a dot on an I.
Answer the question.
Yeah, but you keep asking me 1,000 questions. You don't answer any of my questions.
No, because
let
your
me
question's
answer
about
your-
the Bible.
Let me ask. No. How do you know?
I said your questions were about
How
the Bible.
do you know
I said
what
your
my
questions.
question?
I didn't say your question. I said your questions were.
Okay, so
About the Bible.
That's not.
I didn't say your question now. I
Look
said your
into the
questions.
future.
That's not. I said your. You said I didn't answer your questions. I said your
You never
questions
answer my question.
were about the Bible. That's why I didn't.
Then when I
answer
try
them.
and answer your questions, you jump over me.
Answer the question. My
So when
question
they put a
was.
dot and an I,
Wait.
or a dot, an I without a dot, is the same.
Is that a contradiction in the verses? That the wind is sent to disperse, or it is sent as a glad tidings.
No, wait.
Is that a contradiction?
If I put a line without a dot,
That's not what I'm asking you.
can it be misinterpreted for an L?
Regardless of how it got
Can
there,
it be misinterpreted
listen
for
to,
an L?
listen to my question.
If I put
Listen
a-
to my question.
Wait, no, listen to my question. I'm answering your question.
You haven't answered it.
I'm answering your question.
I answered this-
Let
what was
me
my
answer
question?
it. Is it a contradiction?
Yes.
Now, if I put a line with a dot on the top
Yeah.
and a line without the dot, can I misinterpret those two letters?
You're asking me a question. I asked you a question.
To help answer my
No, my question is simple. I said, reading these two verses, is it a contradiction?
I can't ask questions.
No, because you can ask
I can't ask
after.
questions. I didn't ask
You
questions
can
about
ask
the Bible.
after.
I asked
You can
simple
ask
questions in the letter.
after. These two verses,
Yeah.
is it a contradiction? When one says the wind is sent as a glad tiding, and the other reading says it is sent to disperse. Is that a contradiction, yes or no?
If you read the Arabic, right, you will see the only difference is a dot.
I'm not asking the difference.
In
I'm
that
asking
word,
about the I'm
dot.
asking about the meaning.
Now, if you put a dot above that letter, it becomes a noon. End
I'm not
sound.
asking
If you
about.
put it on the bottom, it becomes a
Answer
B,
the
birth
question.
sound. So just one dot
Yes.
will change a whole word.
So has the word been changed?
In the wash, yeah.
Does the meaning contradict? the one in the Hafs? It does. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted
Thank
you
you
to
very
answer.
much. That's what I'm trying to say. I follow the Hafs, not the one.
All right. So now I'm going to conclude because we've
Because
now
nobody would read this one.
All right.
I'm telling you, nobody would read the Wash because it gives a different meaning on this one.
So I'm going to conclude
Go on.
now. We have finally got confirmation in Surah Araf 757, where it says Allah sends the wind as a glad tiding in the Hafs, which he uses, and versus the marsh.
Did you know the difference?
Let me finish. So in the Wash, it says Allah will send the winds to disperse. So now my friend here has confirmed that this is a contradiction in the text, and this is why he rejects the Wash in the meaning.
But in the
now,
text, it's exactly the same.
but the diacritical mark is different. Yes, we know. That no one's disputing that. But the problem is the construction of the Arabic grammar is when you start moving the diacritical marks around, the meaning of the text starts changing. This is why we have a contradiction in two Qurans, because the Muslims say, find us a contradiction in the Quran, but if there is one Quran, this is a contradiction because we now have two different ones that say two different things, which you have just confirmed. So I would ask you to ponder
Show
upon
me a
this.
contradiction in the Hafs Quran.
How many Qurans are there?
In the Hafs.
How many Qurans are there?
One.
Right. So now, if we have two different readings, we have a contradiction.
If you have the Wash, I'm guessing it's the Moroccan, so maybe...
How do you know which one is? How do you know which one is on the
maybe
eternal
their
tablet?
dots, maybe they put their dots in different places. I don't know.
Two calls a contradiction. So
Maybe
on
they
that
put their
note,
dots in a different way. Like if you write Arabic, if you write English in America, you write colour with no U.
yes, the meaning is the same. Not dispersed to glad tidings.
So maybe in Morocco,
Like I
they
say
don't put the
tomato,
dot
you say
at-
tomato.
Yeah, they don't put the dot at the bottom. Maybe in Morocco, they put the dot on the top.
Now this is the.
Maybe.
But this is the.
That's
When the
probably what it is.
Quran was written, did they have diacritical marks? No, they didn't.
Of course not. They didn't have
Exactly.
vowels.
Thank you. So where did the critical marks come from? So how do you know the Hafs isn't the one
Yeah, they
that's
did. They have
problematic?
consonants.
They didn't have diacritical
They
marks.
had consonants.
You've just confirmed they didn't
No,
have
they have
diacritical.
consonants.
They didn't have diacritical marks.
The dots.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't. It wasn't
Why
in the
not?
Arabic text at the time. It came centuries later after the Quran.
No, they
There
didn't have vowels.
They didn't have diacritical marks on
They
the
didn't have
text.
vowels like the ya and the wow.
And how'd you get the vowels? Using what?
Recitation.
But in text, what do you use to get the vowels? Diacritical marks. And that wasn't. You don't.
Consonants have the marks.
In the 7th century.
Consonants and vowels have the marks.
Yes, and I'm saying to you, in the 7th century, in Arabic text, there was no such thing as diacritical marks. So these diacritical marks that you are
Wait,
saying.
I'll let you conclude.
All right. So again,
All I'm
in
saying
conclusion, he's
My
confirmed two
conclusion-
things.
Wait, my conclusion.
Make your conclusion.
My conclusion is that either there's a mistype or maybe the Moroccans write that way for that letter, that certain letter, they put the dot on the top instead of the bottom. That's my conclusion. All right.
Now, we have a Muslim who's ignorant of the 7 readings because we have different readings of apparently of the Quran. Now he's confirmed that it is a contradiction. So this dispels the myth that the perfect preservation of the Quran and every Quran is the same. And also he tried to say about the diacritical marks, and this is another problem which leaves a holes in the narrative, because there were no diacritical marks in the original Arabic text when the Quran was recited in the time of Uthman. So where did these diacritical marks? This is clearly the work of human intervention. So for them to say it's the work of Allah is clearly highlights that.
That the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say.
So I would ask many Muslims to ponder on the fact that we even had a Muslim confirm there is a contradiction in the Quran.